Howdy, let's look at day 3 of the quadrilateral unit. This one focuses on rhombuses and squares. And in particular, I want you to have out your notebook and, of course, your property cheat sheet. We're going to refer to that quite a bit, in particular, the part on rhombuses and squares. So first, the objectives are the same, similar ideas to what we've done before, but now we'll use properties of rhombuses and squares to answer these questions. Flip over to page 18 in your notebook, work on warm-up number 2, pause the video, and when you're finished, come back and let's see how you did. This is a parallelogram. It says find the measure of all the angles, so opposite angles are congruent, and then consecutive angles have to be supplementary, so those two guys have to add to 180. The second example, I've got a parallelogram. It tells me that XY is 15, WX is 22, ZX, this one's hard to write, is 32, and WT is 10. Now one thing I'll remember, if ZX is 32, that's a diagonal, and the diagonals bisect each other, so these must each be 16, and this one must be 10. Opposite sides are congruent, so that's 22 and that's 15. ZW is 15, ZY is 22, TX is 16, and WY is 20. Example 3 talks about a rectangle where DB is 42. Again, that's bisected. AD is 26 and DC is 33. So before I look at the bottom, let's go ahead and fill everything else in. If the bottom is 33, the top is 33. The left is 26, the right is 26, and on a rectangle, I recall that the diagonals are congruent. So these are also both going to be 21. Telling me AC is 42. I figure that out by adding up these two numbers. EB is 21, BC is 26, and AB is 33. A quick review of some of the parallelograms that we've talked about before. Flip now to page 11 in your notebook, and we will look at topic 3. First of all, we've got to define a rhombus. A rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. This shape right here is a rhombus. It might be a square. A square is actually a certain type of rhombus where it's got 4 congruent sides and the angles are 90 degrees. But a rhombus doesn't have to be, upright. I think about it as a square on the move sometimes. It's kind of tilted over like that. And we can use some facts about rhombuses to answer these questions. So if you look back on your property sheet, it's got my information about the rhombus. I zoomed in a little bit so we could read this better. It says the rhombus has opposite sides parallel, opposite sides congruent. Now you may recall that's similar to what we saw with a parallelogram because, again, a rhombus is a type of parallelogram. The difference here, what's unique, is that in a rhombus, all the sides are congruent. So just like a parallelogram, the angle rules are the same. But now, not only do the diagonals bisect each other, but they're perpendicular and they bisect the angles that they come from. So we've got a few new things that are unique to rhombuses. So let's see what we can do with that. So we saw that they bisect the angles that they come from, which means if this angle here is 38, then this one is also going to be 38. And likewise, these guys over here are going to be 38. So how about angles 1 and 2? Well, there's a lot of ways to approach this. One way is like this. These two angles add up to be 76, which means these two angles add up to be 104 because consecutive angles in a parallelogram are supplementary. 104 is bisected by that diagonal. That means each side is going to be 52. And likewise, these guys are 52. Now, what about angle 8? Well, if you'll recall, it said that the diagonals are perpendicular to each other, which means this angle is 90 degrees. And check this out. If I focus just on this little triangle right here, I end up with 90 plus 52 plus 38, 180 degrees, because that's what you get in a triangle. So angles 1 and 2 are both 52. Angle 3 is 38. Angle 4 and 5 are 38. Angle 6 and 7 are 52. And angle 8 is 90. Turns out all of these guys here will be 90 if they had asked me about those. All right, here's another rhombus. And on this rhombus, they told me that we've got JK is 12, JN is 7, and NK is 9.7. So what do I know about JM? Well, I know that if JK is 12 and it's a rhombus, all the sides have to be 12. Likewise, I know the diagonals bisect each other, which means if this is 7, then this is going to be 7. And likewise, on the other diagonal, this must be 9.7. They're making me deal with some decimals. So JL is 7 plus 7. That's 14. MN is 9.7. And MK is 19.4. All right, how about example 3 here? Again, we've got a rhombus, and they want me to find MP. What is this side? Well, I know all the sides are the same in a rhombus, and I've been given the top is this, and the bottom is this. Those guys have to be equal to each other because all the sides are the same. So if I subtract 3x from each side, and if I add 77 to each side, and then if I divide by 6, I found that x was 14, but that's not the question. Let's plug it in here and see what this side is. So I've got 3 times 14 plus 7. And note I could have done that in the top. 9 times 14 minus 77. Both of those are going to be 49. Which means these guys are also 49. And that means that MP is 49. Now, a specific type of rhombus with 4 right angles is called a square. So a square is a certain type of rhombus, and remember that a rhombus was a certain type of parallelogram. So the additional thing we get with a square that we didn't have before was that the angles, the 4 corner angles, are right angles. So let's see what this tells me. ABCD is a square, and I should have said this. Note that ABCD is in consecutive order. It doesn't really matter where you start, but you need to continue to go around the polygon without skipping points. So you can't say like square ACDB. It doesn't work like that. But you could say square ADCB, working in a different order, but you have to just work consecutively around the polygon. So AD is 11. That means all these sides are going to be 11. And it says AC is 15.6. Now, 15.6 divided by 2 is going to be 7.8. So these have to be 7.8, 7.8. These are going to be the same in a square. And let's see what we've got. BC is 11. AC is going to be 15.6. That's the whole diagonal. BD is 15.6. EC 7.8. And you notice I went ahead and filled in my square, and then answering these questions comes pretty quickly. DAB is 90 degrees. AEB, so this is 90 degrees. AEB is 90 degrees because the diagonals are perpendicular. CBD, that's this angle. Oh, that's not 90. No, it's half of 90 because you'll recall that in a rhombus, the diagonals bisect the opposite angles. Coach, how will I ever remember all that? You don't have to remember it. It's on a property sheet. Look at it and use it. Reference that sheet. And then I've got BAC. That's this angle right here. That's also going to be 45 degrees. So we've talked about rhombuses and squares today. Give it a go. Ask your teacher if you need help or send us a message. Good luck. I know you can do it.